Hello everyone, thank you for watching this video. Now, in this part of today's video, we're going through Evergreen Sec 3 G2 2022 Paper 2. So without further ado, let's begin with some of the answers. I'll be posting the answers on Google Classroom eventually. So if you are watching through the video, please pay more attention to the explanation. You can pause and copy the solutions in the video a little bit later, or you can refer to the answers that is being posted on Google Classroom for further reference. Okay, let's begin with our first question. Okay, part one, question number one. In 2021, this is the statistics for Thailand, but all these numbers over here are represented in millions. Okay, so this one you need to know what is the standard form for million. Okay, millions means there are 6 zeros, so this will be times 10 to the power of 6. Okay, and these are the following that's represented in the table over here. So you got so many different data, and you have different years or whichever of the data that's going on. Okay, so now first question over here, they say that find the total number of residents in Thailand in standard form. So they want the answer in standard form. So what do I need to do? I need to add up the total, right? I have 11.71. All these numbers over here, we need to add them up together. But remember, all these numbers are in terms of millions, right? So there's a times 10 to the power 6. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add all the numbers up together times 10 to the power 6. Right? But however, after I add them up together, whichever n times 10 to the power 6, I notice that this number is not in standard form. So what is it like? What do we need to do to find a number in standard form? A number in standard form must be of the pattern a times 10 to the power of n. Where a is a number bigger than or equal to 1, but must be smaller than 10. So in this case, I got 67.12. I need to shift this decimal place such that it becomes a number that is smaller than 10. So in this case, how can I shift my number? So if you shift this number, this is 67.12, right? So I'm going to shift this number, the decimal over here, to make it become smaller than 10. So it's 6.712. But 6.712, the original number is 67.12, right? So if I change it to 6.712, I shifted, the original number is much bigger. I need to times a 10. Okay, so that becomes 67.12. So for this portion, I change it to this standard form. But not forgetting, I got a 10 to the power 6 originally. So I have to bring this down, 10 to the power 6. Combining the powers 10 together, that's 10 to the power 1 and 10 to the power 6. In total, we have times 10 to the power 7. So the final answer will be 6.712 times 10 to the power of 7. Have you gotten the answer? Okay. Next question, let's continue. In 2021, the number of residents is 65 years old and above. Where is the number that is 65 years old and above? More than 65 years old. So that number is 7.67 million, million times 10 to the power 6. Okay, so this number of residents, 6.67 times 10 to the power 6 over here, is approximately 5 times the number of the number in the country is approximately 5 times. So I need to multiply by 5. Find the number of residents age 65 years old and above in country A. Right. So in country A, this is 5 times more than this, so I times 5. Okay, but you notice they want us to leave the answer in billion. And they did not request us to be in standard form. So first, let me calculate 7.67 times 10 to the power 6 times 5 first. So I get this number, but unfortunately, this is not in billion, right? 1 billion is 90. So what do I need to do? So I need to divide by 1, then with the 9 zeros, right? Or rather, 1 times 10 to the power of 9. So when I divide by that number, 1 times 10 to the power 9, then I'll get to know, oh, how many billions is it? Word of caution, please do put brackets, right? In case your calculator cannot understand what is 10 to the power 9 or whichever. So you just put bracket 1 times 10 to the power 9, right? Instead of maybe they do 1 and you go and multiply by 9 instead, right? So it's divided by this whole number. And then you get an answer here in billions. They did not request us to change this to standard form, so we shall leave this as the number of billions. So answer will be just 0.03835 billions. You notice that I did not round it off to 3 sig fig as well, because it's an exact value. If I were to multiply in billions, it's all a whole number, right? It's not a decimal place. So I'm not going to round it off to 3 sig fig at all. Okay, have you gotten the question, the answer? Right, next question. Next part. The question here says the land area is so much. Calculate the average population per square kilometer. What does the word per means? For example, kilometers per hour. That is taking the distance, which is kilometer, divided by the time in hour. So when we write per, right, it actually means division. So this means they want population over the land area. Population divided by the land area. So what was the population we calculated earlier on? We calculated the total population over here, right? This is my total population, 6.712. So that's my total population over here, right? So I'm going to use my total population and then divide by the land area that's given to me. So the land area. Then after I divide by these, the question asks me to leave the answer in standard form, find significant figure. So standard form, find single figure. So I write this in standard form. First, how do I write this in standard form? Remember, the number, the decimal place must make the number lesser than 10. Right, more than 1. So more than 1 but lesser than 10. So in this case, you notice I shifted the decimal place to 1.3 something something something. But since they want 5 sig fig, right? So I round off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. Okay, so 5 sig fig. But this is originally 130. I only have 1.3 something. So I actually shifted 2 places, right? So I'm going to put times 10 to the power of 2. Remember, my original value is a large number, bigger than 10 already, bigger than 1. So this power here must be a positive power, right? If my number is a decimal place smaller than 1, then this power times 10 to the power something will become a negative power. Have you gotten your answer? Next question, prime factors and its multiples, right? First, express 180 as a product. Prime factors, this one is in Sec 1 work. If those of you cannot remember some of the Sec 1 stuff, you can look at my video for topical revision 1 for Sec 1 on prime factors as well. Okay, other than that, we can do the prime factors. So we're going to divide by the prime numbers. So what are the prime numbers? 2, 3, 5, 7, 9 is not a prime number. Then the next one will be 11, 13, and so on and so forth. So prime numbers are numbers that can be only divided by 1 and itself, right? So the smaller prime factors, 2, 3, 5, 7, so on and so forth. So after we divide, you notice that I have 2 to the power of 2 times, and then 3 to the power of 2, and then 5. So 2 squared times 3 squared times 5. Okay, next one, part B, given that this factor, this number 87480 is expressed as its factors in this way. Now they want to find the highest common factor. Now when we find the highest common factor for 180, so I'm going to write down all the factors for 180. I write down all the factors already over here. Okay, and then write down all the factors for 87480 also. Now, when we find the highest common factor, what do? We choose the factors that are common only And we choose the one with the lowest power. So 2 is common. So 1 is 2 square, 1 is 2, 3 to the power 2 cube. Which one do we choose? Remember, we choose whatever that is common. And 2 square and 2 to the power 3, the highest that I can get for common, I choose the one with the lowest power, which is 2 square. Next one, 3 square and 3 to the power 7. What should I choose? I choose 3. Both of them have 3. And then I choose the one with the lowest power, 3 squared. Next one, the number is 5. So both of them have factor 5, no other power. Now, in this part of the answers, please read carefully, read the question carefully. If the question say, leaving answer as a product of its prime factors. Okay, if the question says so, as a product of its prime factors, then you leave this as the answer. But the question did not say leave your answer as a product of prime factors. This means I need to work out this value, which is 2 square times 3 square times 5. So the highest common factor is actually the number 180 itself. Okay, wow. Yeah, so it's the number 180 itself. So this answer is just 180, right? But if they say leave your answer as a product of prime factors, they give me the 2 square, 3 square, and 5, okay? Next one, find the smallest integer k such that 87480 times k. Now, you notice how this is multiplied by k. When you multiply by something, the power always increases. If the question will be to say, I'm going to divide by something, for example, 87480 over k instead, then my power for whatever factors will now decrease. Okay, so there's two ways that we can set this kind of question. One can be multiplied by, one can be divided by. Next thing, the question here says a perfect cube. What do you mean by perfect cube? Perfect cube meaning that all the powers of its factors must be multiple of 3. Perfect cube, multiple of 3. If it's a perfect square, then all the powers will be multiple of 2. Right? But in this case, perfect cube, so all the powers are multiple of 3. Right? And then, now let's take a look at which of the following powers are not a multiple of 3. So this one we checked already. Oh, 2 cube, 2 cube. Cube is already a power multiple of 3. Then the next one that we don't have will be 3 to the power 7. Now remember, I'm multiplying by something. So I need to check 3 to the power 7 multiplied by what can change the power to become a multiple of 3. What are multiples of 3? Multiples of 3 are 3, 6, 9, 12, so on and so forth. So we want to change this to the nearest power. Is it going to be 3 to the power 6? Or 3 to the power of something? 3 to the power of what? 3 to the power of 6 or 3 to the power of 9? Remember, when I multiply by something, the power increases. So in this case, I need to change it to 3 to the power of 9. If that's the case, I need to multiply this by 3 to the power of 2. Right? So that I have 3 to the power 7, 3 to the power 2, it becomes 3 to the power 9. So this letter K over here that I'm going to multiply will be 3 to the power 2. Okay. Let's take a look at 5. 5 over here is just 5 to the power of 1. If I'm going to increase the power, make it multiple of 3. So 5 to the power 1 will change to 5. Increase the power, become 5 to the power 3. So what do I need to multiply here? I need to multiply 5 to the power of 2. Okay, which means for my k, I need to multiply by 5 squared. Okay, again, read the question. Find the smallest integer k. They did not say leave your answer as a product of its prime factors. So I need to calculate out what is this number, 3 squared times 5 squared, which is the number 225 answer. So this will be your answer. Okay, so a few things to take note. 87480 times k, so multiply, power increases. Perfect cube, all the powers of the factors are multiple of 3. Multiple of 3 meaning 369. The base is whether is it 3 or 5, but the power must be in terms of 3, 6, 9, 12, so on and so forth. Okay, so have you gotten your answer for this question? Okay, yes, then we shall move along to the next page, right? Next part. Now the question over here, the lights on 3 lighthouses flash at regular intervals. Now this is a very standard question. You must know how to do. Okay, the first light flash at every 12 seconds. So firstly, for us, we'll use prime factors to solve this question. So we're going to express 12 as a product of its prime factors. So you divide by 2, right? Divide by 2. Then divide by 3. So 12 is actually 2 squared times 3. Same for 20, you divide by 2, 10, divide by 2, 5, divide by 5, 1. So I get 2 squared times 5. And last but not least, 25. 25 is 5 times 5, so it's 5 squared. Now, when you want the lights to next flash together, okay, that means usually this kind of question, we are either thinking of whether is it HCF or whether is it LCM. In this case, you'll notice that 2 squared times 3, 2 squared times 5, and then 5 squared. There's no highest common factor at all. There's no HCF. Does that mean that they are not going to flash together? No, right? So we're not going to use the HCF in this case. And then we're going to check, oh, so maybe I should use the lowest common multiple. Now, how do we use the lowest common multiple? How do we find the lowest common multiple? Right, we have, firstly, to find lowest common multiple, I must choose all my factors and with the highest power. So I have 2 squared and 2 squared, so I choose 2 squared definitely. I must choose all the factors, so I must choose 3. And compared to 5 and 5 squared, I'll choose the one with the higher power, which is 5 squared. Okay, but remember, this is all in seconds. So all the units over here are all in seconds, right? But they gave me a timing 1 p.m. So I need to find what is this number first. 2 squared times 3 times 5 squared. That gives me my LCM to be 300 seconds. But 300 seconds, if I'm going to add it to a time, 1 p.m., I need to convert this into minutes. So I'm going to divide this by 60. 1 minute, 60 seconds, right? I'm going to divide this by 60. That gives me 5 minutes. And then it started at 1 p.m., right? So 1 p.m. plus another 5 minutes. So for me, I'll write 1305 in 24-hour notation, or you can write 1:05 p.m. in the 12-hour clock notation. Okay, so both answers are correct. Have you gotten the concept? Okay. Yes, then we should move on to the next question. Next question over here, this is a combination of the algebra and quadratic equation. So first we have 2 different garden. Garden 1 is a rectangle. Garden set number 2 will be a trapezium. Right, so second garden, and these are all the different measurements available. So that's us to find the area for rectangle length times breadth. For me, I know that later I need to expand out and solve the equation, right? So I'll usually just do the expansion. But if you're worried that you do expansion wrongly or whichever, then you don't expand, you leave it as your answer. X times x minus 5, you should be able to get the marks as well. Next one, find the area of the second garden, which is a trapezium, half A plus B times height. Where are the A plus B? The A plus the B are the sum of the 2 parallel sides. So this is your A, and this is the B. Then where is the perpendicular height? The perpendicular height will be the xh. So it's x plus 3, x minus 9, and x. So it's x plus 3, x minus 9, and x itself. So let me simplify this first. I get 2x minus 6 times another x. Let me multiply this half, since these are all multiple of 2, into it. So this part I get x minus 3 times x itself. Of course, you do not want to expand, you can leave it here. But for me, you need to simplify this. Okay, because this one can be simplified. So you need to simplify this. This one, you can give me x squared minus 3x as your answer. Or alternatively, you can leave it as x and x minus 3 as the answer. So this one will be the area for the trapezium. Okay. Next question. Now, next part, they say the total area of the two gardens. So garden 1, area of garden 1 plus area of garden 2 give you 550. Always check the units. So in this case, yes, all of them are in meter square. So I just switch over x squared minus 5x for the first garden, x squared minus 3x for the second garden, and then total is 550. Right? Then simplifying it, I get x squared minus 8x equals to 550. Of course, we want to show that it's equals to 0. Any quadratic equation will make it equal to 0. So shift the negative 550 over, become negative 550. Okay. If let's say I'm not able to do this, I can at least do part D when I solve my formula, right? Solve the equation. How do I know whether do I do factorization or use formula? We read the question. Question say give your answer for decimal places. It's already decimal places, so of course I must use my formula. And what's the formula? X equals to negative b plus minus b squared minus 4ac. Please memorize this formula. You need to use it. Okay, and I know a lot of you use mode 3 or whichever is your answer, or mode 5 but you must show the working. Without the working, giving me the answers has no marks. You must write the working. Let's look through our question. 2x squared minus 8x minus 550. So A is the number 2. Don't have square. The square is for the x, not for the 2. Okay, so A is just the value 2. B is not the number 8, but it is negative 8. And C is the value negative 550. So always write everything in brackets, negative B. You see, this is negative of negative 8. Right? If you forget to put the brackets or whichever, you might have thought that it's just minus 8. Then you key in the wrong answer, or the working is wrong. Even if you get the correct answer, wrong working, no marks. Then b square, remember key in your calculator with a bracket, negative 8 whole thing square, because it may come out very differently in your calculator, right? If you don't put the brackets. Okay, b square minus 4a and c over 2a, right? Then after you key everything inside your calculator, you should be able to get these two as your answer. Since they want 4 decimal places, I'm going to write both. They only say solve the equation. They never ask me to reject any number. I'm going to write both my answers. Okay, I'm going to write both my answers. But however, next part, if I want to solve my question, logically, x is a length, so x cannot be negative. Hence, therefore, I say using x to be this number. Now, I redraw the diagram over here. It's a rectangle, and the other one is a trapezium. These are the different measurements, and they say that a garden had to pay $10 for material fees, okay, to construct 1 meter of fencing. What is a fencing? So I'm going to fence around the whole picture, right? So actually this fence is talking about the perimeter. Okay, so I'm actually talking about the perimeter. So let me find the perimeter of this. I'm going to add all different sides over here. So this one is x plus x minus 5 plus x minus. So I get 4x minus 10. Then the other one, x plus 3, x minus 9, that will be 2x minus 6, then have plus 4 plus 4.1. So you get 2x plus 2.1. So the total perimeter will be this, right? But I'm going to replace my x by the value 18.7033, and then I find my total distance to be this one. Is it correct? Just let me double check. Yes, correct. All right. So I get this as my answer. But remember, $10 for 1 meter. 1 meter for $10. But this is so many 100 over meters already. So I need to take the number times 10. And the final answer, money, dollars and cents, is always in 2 decimal places. Anyway, the question did tell us to do 2 decimal places. So round this up, become 0.20. Okay, have you gotten the answer? Next question. Okay, this page I'll do a little bit slower and I'll do step by step because there's a lot of algebra and we need to practice more on algebra. Okay, first part, factorize the whole thing here over here completely. You notice that there are 4 different terms together. So we're going to do a grouping. Now you can shift and move around the terms such that you can find something common among them and you can group them together. For me, in this case, it's quite obvious. I'll group AX with AY. So AX plus AY, one group. Then I will have a second group, negative BY minus BX, the second group. Okay. Then always take note the sign. Now, first one, let's see AX plus AY. What do we have common? What factor do we have in common? AX, AY, so obvious A. This will be X plus Y. So my first bracket, common factor A. What am I left with? X plus Y. Next thing, what's the common factor that's going to be here? If I'm going to factorize out B, that will be minus Y, a positive B. That will be minus Y, there will be a minus X. But however, I notice that this is X plus Y. The sign over here and these two signs are not the same. So what can I do to make them the same sign? So these two must need to match. This portion over here, they need to match. So instead of factorizing out a positive B, I can change this to a negative B. When I divide by negative, this one will become positive, this one divide by become positive. So now X plus Y and Y plus X, they are the same. So then my second factor will be minus B, whether is it plus B or minus B, I also need to write the sign. But in this case, it's minus B bracket Y plus X. Take note, X plus Y and Y plus X, they are actually the same. Now, next line, we need to factorize these into 2 brackets. Now, the one that is common, the one that is repeated, we only write it 1 time. You take out a common factor, let's say A is a common factor, but you only write A 1 time, right? So you do not write 2 times. So it's X plus Y. So what will be the remaining in the other factor? A minus B. Okay, and from here we get X plus Y bracket A minus B. That will be the first part of our answer. Have you gotten it correct? Next question, part 2. This is a very traditional and iconic question when you see this type. Okay, difference between 2 square. This will be following the pattern. A square minus B square equals to 2 brackets, and 2 different sides. Please take note, this one is not A minus B whole thing square. They are not the same. Okay, this one, there are 2 squares for each other. A square minus B square. So this will be A plus B, A minus B. But first, let's change the numbers first. This number here is 4x squared. 4x squared. 4, I need to change the 4 into something square. 4 is what number square? 4 is actually 2 square x squared. 2 square itself. Okay, and what about the number 5? 25y squared. 25, I need to change the 25 into something square. 25 is actually the number 5 squared. right? So if I plug this into my two brackets, 1 plus 1, two different sign, 1 plus 1 minus, this one will be a without the square. So it's 2x plus 5y, 2x minus 5y. Okay, if you prefer to write 2x minus 5y in front, also can. Make sure the y at the back is a plus sign, right? So one is a plus b, one is a minus b, right? If I were to have, I sidetrack a little bit, if I were to have a minus b whole thing square, this one there's only one square, right? This is repeated the same. This one is repeated, okay? But they are different, all right? They are not the same as each other. This is not repeated. This one have a square, there are two squares, individual number square on its own, okay? Next one, how do we factorize this? This one use your different methods. Some use the calculator, some use the try and error, some use the box method. But for me, I'll do my try and error, and I'll use my calculator to double check my answers as well. So since I want a 2y square, so I have 2y times 2y to give me 2y square. I need the number over here, 5. Something times 5, but I need a 9y. So I'll put 5 over here such that 2y times 5 cross over, 10y, then y times 1, y. Since I want a positive 9y, I always put my sign the last to check. So positive 10 minus y. So we've got negative and positive. Negative times positive is negative. Oh, this is negative, correct, I check. Then where's my brackets? 2y minus 1, y plus 5. So 2y minus 1, y plus 5. Have you gotten your answer? You'll notice that there's only one mark over here. So if you press your calculator and then you key the answer, you should be able to get a mark as well. Okay. Next question, question number 5. This one, do slowly because there might be some careless mistakes that you might make. All right, let's begin with the first part. They say expand and simplify 3 minus. I will always put a big gigantic bracket over here. 2y minus 1 whole thing square. Now, what is 2y minus 1 whole thing square? Different people do the answers differently. For me, I will tell you all to probably practice writing it 2 times because you might not be able to know the formula very well, the quadratic formula very well. Okay, but this means this one only one square, the whole thing bracket square. This means the whole bracket is repeated 2 times. So I'm going to do it as 2y minus 1, 2y minus 1. Notice I wrote an additional big square bracket y. There's minus here. So later the sign may change. So let us do this one first. So this is 3 minus big bracket 2y times 2y, 4y square, negative 2y, negative 2y, negative times negative, positive 1. Then close my bracket. Okay. After this, remember there is a negative sign over here. We need to multiply it in and we will have to change sign. So it's minus 4y squared. This one become plus 2y. This one become plus 2y. And this is minus 1. Okay. So simplifying all the equations, I managed to get my answer negative 4y squared, y plus 4y, 3 minus 1 is plus 2. Okay, notice the question say expand and simplify. Now, I know some of you might want to go and cancel away the factors 4 and divide by 2, right? Do not divide, okay? Do not reduce it because this is not equal to 0. You can only divide or simplify or whichever or reduce the equation when it's an equation when it's equal to 0, okay? If it's not equal to 0, please don't do anything to it. And neither they say factorize. They say expand and simplify. So there should be no more brackets over here. So the final answer, there's only one and only one answer that they will accept. The expanded version without any reduction in its value. So keep it as it is. Okay? Next question. Given this whole thing, make H the subject of the formula. Now let's take a look. Where are the terms with H? I have a 2H here and a negative GH here. So in this kind of question, I will tell you my three letter, my G, F, and D, my girlfriend, and then D, right? So what is the first one? First one, G starts for group together. So you should group all these all these numbers together. So I'll keep my 2H as the positive. Okay, I'm going to keep 2H on my left-hand side over here. And equal sign stays in the middle. So who migrates over? Which other term with H migrates over? Negative GH migrates over. So negative GH goes over here. Undo the negative, undo subtraction, it becomes addition. So it's plus GH. Next part on my right hand side, the original citizen is 7M, who migrated over the one that does not has, okay, the one that does not has H, right? So this one from positive 5Y, undo addition, so it becomes subtraction, minus 5Y. So I group them together. Next one, remember, factorize. Factorize out the letter that I want. However, if it's, let's say, a H square and I want H, I'll factorize out H square first. Then finally, I take square root after that. So if they give you H square or whatever number, you factorize out the factors, that letter H involving the power that it has also. Okay, so not just only take out H and then leave the H inside the bracket. Okay, so this is just H. No H square, so it's just H times, right? Now remember, there are two terms over here. The bracket here will definitely need two terms. Sometimes it's just left with a letter itself, then you take it out, then it becomes the number 1. So you must remember to write the number 1 also. Right? But if not, in this case, this one is just 2 plus G, no problem. Last but not least, D for divide. So what am I going to get rid of? I only want H. I don't want the 2 plus G. Please be careful of the way you all do division. So if this whole thing go down to the bottom, right? So this whole thing is 7n minus 5y over 2 plus G. Don't do the other way around now. Okay, but make H the subject of the formula. A lot of students will simply write this as the answer inside your answer blank. This is wrong. Because they want H as the subject of the formula, you need to have H equals 2. So you cannot just write the second half, the right hand side as the answer. You have to write the whole equation, the whole formula inside with H as the subject. H equals to something. Have you gotten the answer? Now the question is a little bit, there are quite a number of questions over here. So I should finish up until this page, okay? And then I'll give you a break. Then I'll record part B, second part in another video. But I'll aim here, let's finish up this page first. One more page, huh? So I'll go through this a bit slower because it's in this list, right? Okay, let's take a look at this question. Oh, we have so many different powers. Firstly, let's interpret what is a to power of n and m, right? Okay, when I have root, right? When I have a root m, this means I'm dividing a power. When I'm taking square root, I'm dividing power by 2. Cube root, I'm dividing power by 3. So whatever m root, that will mean a to the power of something divided by m. Okay, divided by m. So this one will be divided by m. And then where's the original power of a? N. So this one is n over m. All right. So first part over here, this one I'm going to change it to x to the power 12 divided by 3. Now division, I'm going to change division to multiplication. Change, flip. So I'm going to flip this because it's division, right? So now it's 7 is on top over x to the power of 5. Okay, let's further simplify. X to the power 12 divided by 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4. X to the power 4 times 7. This is what is in the numerator. Then whatever that's in the denominator, this one will be whatever that's in the denominator. So this will be over x to the power 5. Let's simplify this further. 7, number itself, nothing to simplify, so 7 stays there. Then x to the power 4, x to the power 5. On top got 4, bottom got 5. Which one have more? How many do we have left? X to the power 1 in the denominator. So this answer, 7 over x. Have you gotten the answer? Next question. Oh my God, so many different things. Let's begin with our negative power first. A to the power negative 1. What does this negative power do to it? It actually gives you 1 over A. Right? But remember, the power for A is still 1. It's not switching the power, okay? It's switching the whole fraction. So what does this actually means? If I were to give you A over 2 to the power of negative 1, for example, then what does this mean? I'm switching the position of the numerator and the denominator. Whatever that's on top goes below. Whatever that's below goes on top. Whole thing to power negative 1. Okay, so for example, so I'm going to show you this as an example. Now let's read through our question over here. First part, there's nothing for me to simplify. I'll keep this first. Okay, times. And notice there's a negative power. I'm going to switch the whole fraction over here first. Okay, switch this whole fraction. But I keep everything inside the same. Just switch the position. So this one will be 5x to the power 4, 4y to the power minus 1. So I switch this position. That is the effect of the negative sign. But did the power change? The power originally is still 2. Just that negative power, the negative effect is to switch the fraction. So I flip the fraction, but the power now from negative 2 becomes 2. Right? So it still stays as power 2. Then next thing, what do we notice? We have this one, y to power negative 1. And this y now originally stays in the basement. With a power negative 1, this y need to shift house, right? Shift up to the top. So it's no longer staying in the basement. So this one becomes 5x to the power 4, one more member shift up, y to the power of 1. Over 4 stays there. The negative power 1 is for y, not for 4. So 4 stays there. Is this okay? Right, until now let's try to simplify this. Numerator, denominator. So numerator, denominator. I'm going to simplify it part by part. Right, so this is 5x 4y, denominator 3 times 4, 12, x cubed y 7. Okay, not done yet. Last part, last but not least, 5 over 12 is still 5 over 12. Nothing to change. Let's look at x. On top, x to the power 4, bottom x to the power 3. So on top got 4, bottom got 3. Cancel away, left x in the numerator. Next one, y top have 1, y bottom got 7. So cancel away 1, I'm left with y to the power of 6. But it's in the denominator. This one have a higher power. No other common factors, so this one is my answer. Have you gotten the concept? Okay, last question for this part one of the video, right? Last part. Now, this one over here, this concept, when this kind of question, right, you always look at, oh, the number got 32 lah, 8 or whichever. Always change the base to the smallest prime factor. Don't try not to use a 8, 4 or whichever and think that they are common factors or whichever. It will be very misleading. So always change to its prime factors. Okay, always change to its prime factor. So prime factorization is actually very important. So first step, let's take a look at 32 divided by 2, 16. Yes, 16 divided by 2 again, 8 divided by 2, 4 divided by 2, 2 divided by 2. So 32 is 2 to power 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 32 is 2 to power 5. I just changed the number 32 only, not forgetting outside what is its original power. Its original power is 3 over 2. So the power of 3 over 2 stays here. Don't disappear. Next one, 8. 8 divided by 2, 4 divided by 2, 2 divided by 2, 1. So 8 changed to 2 to the power of 3, not forgetting outside has a power x. Now, when we have bracket, it means the power multiplied by each other. So this is 2 to power 5 times 3 over 2. 5 times 3 over 2, how much? 15 over 2. 5 times 3 over 2, yeah, 15 over 2. Equals to 2 to power 3 times x, 3x. This one doesn't look like 5. More like 5. 3x. Okay, then since the base and the base are the same, the power and the power must be the same. Okay, that's because they are the same base now. So we have 15 over 2 is 3x. 15 over 2 is in decimal. Okay, never mind. I just want to find x, so I just divide by 3 lah, huh? I'm going to take this whole thing, divide by 3. 15 over 2 divided by 3, that gives me 2.5 for the value of x. So you can write x as 2.5 or 5 over 2. Both can, or 2.5 also can. So x will be equals to the number 2.5, so on and so forth. Okay, have you gotten the concept? Okay, if that's the case, then I should end here for part 1 of our remedial for 2022 paper 2. I'll see you for the remaining for the second part of the paper. See you. Goodbye.